Mark Rogers TV continuing our series looking at the best non-conference competition coming up in the fall of 2013. We've looked at 5 BCS conferences and the best non-conference matchups for those teams. Now we turn our attention to the Pac-12, and we're certainly impressed with what Pac-12 programs are doing in the non-conference scheduling. Notre Dame's on the schedule 3 times versus the Pac-12. Ohio State, you've got Utah State, you've got Fresno State, you've got Nebraska, you've got Boise State, and some other quality opponents. Let's start with Oregon, coming off a 12-1 campaign, defeating Kansas State in the Fiesta Bowl. They take on Tennessee on September 14th in Eugene, and that's 1 week following a trip all the way east to take on the Virginia Cavaliers in Charlottesville. Of course, freshman quarterback Marcus Mariota was exceptional in his first year, 33 touchdowns, 6 picks. And he's got DeAnthony Thomas at running back, who's going to pretty much get most of the carries and a ton of pass receptions. He got 45 last season, ran for almost 8 yards per carry on 92 carries. Oregon loaded with 9 starters coming back on offense, although they do lose 3 key offensive linemen, 2 starters, plus a top backup. And, of course, Ryan Long, one of the best offensive linemen in the Pac-12, is gone to the NFL. But this team will be loaded on offense. And, of course, one of the big losses is head coach Chip Kelly off to the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Oregon offense should be in good hands since offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich, who has manned the OC position since 2009, takes over as head coach. Key losses on defense, a few in there, but 7 back on defense, including 2 of the best players in the Pac-12 and Taylor Hart, 8 sacks last season, and also the safety Eric Dargan. So it's Tennessee taking on Oregon in Eugene, September 14th. We've got a matchup as well, Notre Dame and Stanford, all the way at the end of the schedule, November 30th in Palo Alto. Of course, 2 of these teams, 2 of the best teams in the country here last season, played a monumental effort in South Bend. It went to overtime. Notre Dame hung on with a last play goal line stand on 4th down of Stephon Taylor. Stephon Taylor off to the pros. He's the heart and soul of the Stanford team, especially on offense. He's gone. That's going to be key. Kevin Hogan is a freshman, another freshman stepping up, just like Hundley and just like Mariota, stepping up and doing a great job with that Stanford offense, and he's back as well. This team, highly touted. We saw one publication rate them number 3 in the country preseason, and of course, their strong points on defense. They've got Shane Skov back at linebacker, along with Trent Murphy. Ben Gardner's one of the best defensive ends in the country, and also Jordan Richards at defensive back. Stanford loaded on defense. Should be an interesting matchup, taking on the Fighting Irish, and of course, not a good offseason for Notre Dame, and especially losing Everett Golson at quarterback, and we'll see what they do there. Probably Tommy Rees gets the call, although he has much better options, does Brian Kelly, backing up Tommy Rees in terms of athleticism, but of course Tommy Rees has the experience of 18 starts. So we've got Notre Dame Stanford on November 30th. Okay, rematch number 2. We've got UCLA going to Nebraska this year. Of course, the Huskers traveled to the West Coast last year, upset at that point by UCLA in an offensive explosion. The Bruins put up like 700 yards of offense. The 2 get it on a September 14th in Lincoln. UCLA 9-2, lost the last 3 to finish 9-5. So Jim Moore has done an exceptional job of bringing this team back to contention. Now can they raise it another level? As we mentioned, Brett Hundley, freshman quarterback, was exceptional. Will he take steps forward as a sophomore? Shaq Evans at wide receiver. They lose, much like Stephon Taylor with Stanford, the heart and soul of the offense, and Jonathan Franklin, the all-time rushing leader at UCLA. Nebraska, great offense with Abdullah at running back, with Kenny Bell at wide receiver, Taylor Martinez at quarterback, who's improved so much as a passer, but the defense has been horrible in recent years and really got carved up by UCLA last year. This is the rematch, September 14th at UCLA. All right, on the same day, September 14th, Ohio State and Cal looks like a mismatch. Buckeyes 12-0, Cal 3-9, but we remember what happened in Columbus last year, 28-28. Broken play, Braxton Miller found Devin Smith for the game-winning touchdown. Otherwise, Cal gave the Buckeyes fits. They do lose their quarterback, their top running back, and of course Keenan Allen, one of the best wide receivers in the country, lost by Cal. But Chris Harper was exceptional as a freshman at wide receiver for Cal with 41 catchers. He's an up-and-comer. Look out for him in this matchup with Ohio State. We've talked about Ohio State. Check out our post on the Buckeyes spring football that we posted about a month ago and really sized up the Buckeyes for 2013. All right, same day. Great Pac-12 Big Ten matchups on that day. September 14th, Wisconsin taking on Arizona State. In this game, Arizona State brings the defense. Dennis Erickson really recruited that way. You've got Will Sutton, the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year and All-America with 13 sacks. Get this, 23.5 tackles for loss. Also, outside linebacker Carl Bradford, who had 11 sacks. Head coach Todd Graham, 8-5 in his first season at Arizona State. And, of course, they take on Wisconsin on September 14th. Another huge game for the Sun Devils a little later in the season on October 5th against Notre Dame, that at Cowboys Stadium. Another rematch, a lot of rematches here. Boise State taking on Washington, week 1, August 31st. Of course, they matched up in the Las Vegas Bowl at the end of last season, so 2 consecutive games for the Broncos and the Huskies, and we've got a 28-26 win as Boise State scored late to win that one. Boise State really turned the tables on us last season with an exceptional defense and very physical play on that side of the ball, but the offense was down from what we've seen in past years, especially with Kellen Moore at quarterback. Keith Price leads the Washington offense. He had an exceptional 2011 with 67%, 33 touchdowns. Took a down year last year. He was running for his life. They had all sorts of injuries along the Washington offensive line, but they've got all their starters back, excluding their center, so Washington should be improved. They're promising up-tempo football. Steve Sarkisian was running up to 130 plays per scrimmage during the spring. So it's Boise State taking on Washington, and Bishop Sankey, the tailback for Washington, one of the best in the Pac-12 and the country, 1,400 yards and 16 touchdowns last season. August 31st as well, Washington State at Auburn to take on the Tigers. That's the best game we could come up with for the Cougars. Of course, a big name in Auburn, but they were horrible last year. What a fall from grace from national championship to bowl team to 3-9 and 0-8 in the SEC. Washington State salvaged its season with a win over Washington, its rival, to close it out. We'll see if Mike Leach is building a program. They threw it all over the place last season, but make no mistake about it, they didn't get anywhere. Few yards per play, per pass attempt, not many points on the board for Washington State, and of course the defense is atrocious. All right, another rematch here. Traditional matchup with USC at Notre Dame, that coming up October 19th. Quarterback, the big question for USC. They, of course, lost to the Irish last season with Matt Barkley out of the lineup after he got hurt against UCLA. So it's the battle of the Maxes plus the Cody for USC. Check out our post on USC spring football. We size it up with Cody Kessler leading the charge in the spring. He had the most impressive spring, but you've got Max Brown, one of the top recruited quarterbacks in the country, and also Max Wittek, who mopped up against Notre Dame and in the bowl game against Georgia Tech for USC. Of course, we know the issues with Notre Dame, with Everett Golson leaving the program. Couple key players to watch out for with UCLA, and of course, make no mistake about it, Marquise Lee, one of the exceptional great players in college football. But at running back, Silas Redd, the Penn State transfer, solid season, 1,000 yards, 5.5 per carry, 10 touchdowns last season. And also, you got Trey Madden coming back from injury. He could be a huge addition for this USC offense at tailback. And the outside linebackers, Morgan Breslin, maybe the best player in the country on that side of the football. 13 sacks last season. He's going to be joined by another exceptional talent in Devon Kennard, who missed all of 2012. So USC looks to make amends for a 7-6 campaign from last season. All right, Utah State and Utah, they hook up on August 31st. New head coach for Utah State, or for Utah, Dennis Erickson. This guy just finds a job and keeps himself in college football, but regardless of what you think of Dennis Erickson, he has certainly taken on a lot of challenges and usually turns a program around. Did a nice job at Arizona State, didn't really finish the deal, but left on bad terms there. Gets a job at Utah and takes over a really bad football team. He's got quarterback Travis Wilson, after a rough freshman season, running for his life, back on offense. an offense that was 105th nationally last season. The offensive and defensive lines are a mess at Utah as well, but it's Utah, Utah State. Utah State, the Aggies coming off an 11-2 campaign, but their head coach, Gary Anderson, who really built this program, is off to Wisconsin. All right, more coaching changes with Colorado State on August 31st. Colorado's also got a date with Fresno State, a top non-conference team, on September 14th. For Colorado, it's head coach Mike McIntyre coming in from San Jose State, a team that he took from 1-12 to 11-2 in a couple seasons. Mike McIntyre got his work cut out for him, of course, in Boulder. He's got quarterback Jordan Webb out with an ACL. He's going to be replaced by Connor Wood. Limited playing time for Connor Wood for the Buffs last season. 1 TD, 4 picks. He has to improve, obviously. All right, September 21st, Oregon State, a surprise in the Pac-12 last year at 9-4. Lost to Texas in the Alamo Bowl, but they're back at it with Mike Riley, one of the best coaches in the country, taking on San Diego State, their top non-conference foe this season on September 21st. Weapons all over the place for Oregon State. Sean Mannion back at quarterback, but Cody Vaz is waiting in the wings. So Mike Riley's got some options. They both played well. Vaz in relief at times. Mannion got hurt last year. Vaz stepped up and played well, won a lot of football games. Mannion came back, earned his role back, but 15 TDs, 13 picks, so he needs to cut down on the picks. Running back Storm Woods, one of the best in the Pac-12, almost 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns for the Beavers. And they also have Brandon Cooks, an exceptional wide receiver with 67 receptions, almost 1,200 yards. Scott Crichton for Oregon State, one of the best linebackers in the Pac-12, one of the best players in the Pac-12 period, with 9 sacks to put pressure on the quarterback. Oregon State, San Diego State, best Beavers non-conference game, September 21st. Finally, we look to Arizona. On September 7th, the Wildcats take on UNLV. Rich Rod, 8-5 in his first season at Arizona. And as you might expect, it's Michigan West. Great offense, horrible defense for Arizona. They finished, and they've got 11 starters coming back on defense. So that may or may not be a good thing for Arizona State. Giving up 38 points per game, scoring 38 points per game, giving up 500 yards per game, and they were 118th in the country in giving up yardage. They were last in the Pac-12 in sacks. Arizona will play those kind of football games again this season, it looks like, even with losing their top quarterback. Scott moved on to the NFL, but they've got Kadeem Carey, one of the best backs in college football. Check out our post on the top 10 running backs coming back to college football in 2013. You may be surprised where we rank Kadeem Carey. But again, he's back in Austin Hall, one of the top pass catchers in the Pac-12. Arizona 8-5 last season. Again, their top non-conference game, September 7th against UNLV. There you have it, Pac-12 fans. A loaded schedule, a lot of great early season matchups, a lot of rematches. Talk about it right here on Mark Rogers TV.